Morning, students. Let us continue with the moments. Lesson number 4 in the Kingdom of Fools by A.K. Ramanujan. Already 2 videos are uploaded before this. This is the third video. The last, on the page number 22, you see, we have completed where the king is questioning the goldsmith. You know, the story is like this. Again, let me repeat for you quickly. A robber enters into a rich man's house, and as he was robbing, the wall falls down, and he died on the spot. Now his brother goes to the king and tells that justice is to be given to my brother, because why this man, this rich merchant, built the house, the wall very weak. That's why. So merchant is to be blamed. So the merchant was called. Merchant blames whom? The bricklayer, the one who has constructed. Now bricklayer was called. Now bricklayer blames whom? The dancing girl, because he was distracted, because she was going up and down whole day with a anklet and jingling, making noise with her anklet. And so he blames her. Because of her, I did not pay attention, I was distracted, and I have not done properly. And the girl was called. This girl blames whom? The goldsmith, because the goldsmith was calling her now and then, telling come and take, but then he never gave. He was a lazy scoundrel, she calls him. Dishonest man. He was calling me now and then, and he would give many excuses, and he never gave. That's why I had to come now and then, and he was distracted. It is not my fault. It is not my fault. It is a goldsmith's fault. Now goldsmith was called, and now goldsmith explains why he was going on calling this woman now and then, because a rich merchant had given him order to make jewelry, because wedding was coming in his house. And the rich men, how they are, he is telling, they are so impatient. So whom to give preference? To the rich man. And that's why I made this woman come now and then. It is not my fault. Now king heard all this, and the king was also surprised. And now he is telling, who is this merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry and make her to walk up and down? And the goldsmith gives now he will call the merchant who made him to, because of whom he made this poor woman come now and then. Who was this rich merchant? Now he will call the rich merchant. Yeah, you see page number 23. Today we will begin. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He's dead. I am innocent." You see what has happened? Now who was this merchant, rich merchant, because of whom the goldsmith has to delay for this woman and give preference to this rich man, this rich merchant? The same rich merchant from whose wall is being broken. You see? And so the king is telling, now the full circle it has come. You see, understood? The justice had come full circle. That same merchant whose wall is collapsed and the man is dead. The king, again he called for that merchant. Another word for called, summoned. You see here, he rudely summoned. Very angry now, you see, because full round it has become now. So he was very rudely he called to this merchant, and the merchant came crying. And what he is telling, you see, it wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead and I am innocent. I have not ordered, just my father who ordered this jewelry. Perhaps for whose marriage? Perhaps for the same merchant who is alive. His father is dead and he is there, and certainly not me. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It's true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. You see what is happening here? The king and the consulted his minister. Naturally alone he cannot rule out, and so with the minister he ruled out decisively. Finally they ruled out. No, ruled decisively means final decision. Final decision. What was it? It is true that your father is the true murderer. He was the cause. Now he is dead. Then now somebody must be punished in his place, because somebody should be punished, provided somebody is punished, you see. Now you have inherited means you are the heir of, or after your father died, everything it is yours. That's called inherited. You have got everything from your father. That is telling your criminal father of yours is telling very, very, very strong word. Criminal is a murderer, we call, no? So he was a criminal, he is telling. He was a murderer, your father. You have inherited his riches. That means you have become rich because of him, as well as his sins. He was a sinner. And the king is telling, I knew when I saw you very first time that you were at the root of this horrible crime. This crime is very horrible, horrific, and you must die. You must die. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servant sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. You understood what has happened here? You see the kingdom of fools. The new stake to be made ready for the execution. Execution here, to execute. That means hang to death. To chop, the neck has to be chopped out. So the stake was sharpened, very sharp. Okay, they have to make it sharp, no? So that at one, it's something like a butcher's knife. You have seen, they have to kill the goat, whatever it is, and so it has to cut it properly. So it was sharpened, very sharp, and got ready for the final order from the king. But then when everything was ready, the minister, it came into the mind of, it occurred, he thought, it occurred into the mind of the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. It's so thin he is. And therefore, the king, and so he went and told king, he is too thin. It will not be properly done. It will not be carried out properly. And so the king also, it appealed to the king's common sense. Appeal means he was happy. Okay? He agreed. It appealed him. And the king also was worried about it. And what shall we do? He is asking. When suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months of bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. You understood what has happened here? Now what to do then? And suddenly some idea came on the ministers that instead of this man, because provided somebody has to die, you see, they said that this man is so thin, and so all that they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit in that stake. He has to fit there. And servants were immediately, they were sent to all over the town to look for a man who would fit the stake, to be little fat man. And their eyes fell on whom? The disciple. You remember the king, guru, and the disciple, those who have come to in this city, and the king had gone away, and the disciple remained because everything was cheap there, and he ate, rice and ghee and bananas, and who has become very fat. Now everyone's eyes fell on this fat man, the disciple of this king. Next page. Open your next page. Yeah. What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. Imagine one fat man just they carried, they are pulling him towards the king. And what have I done wrong? Have I done anything? I am innocent. I have not done anything wrong. He is telling, I am a sannyasi. He cried, he made noise, he shouted. That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers, he could see far, and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. You see what has happened? The disciples started crying, I have not done anything wrong. And the servants, what they say, maybe it is true that you have not done anything, but it's a royal decree. It is the king has made an decree. Decree is an order, It's a royal decree. It's the order by king that we should find a fat man who would fit into the stake. And so what they did, they carried him to the place of execution. And when they carried him there, he remembered his wise guru's words. What was the wise guru had told? It is a kingdom of fools. You don't know what they will do next. So let's go back. Remember. But then he remained there because he wanted to eat cheap food. And his guru had left. Now while he was waiting for death, now death is sure, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear wherever he was. And this guru saw everything in vision. Vision means, those gurus, sannyasis, what happened? They can have the vision. They may be anywhere, but then they can see what is happening to the world around. That's called vision. And he had the magic powers. And so he could see the far and future and past and present, everything he could see. And he knew that his disciple is in danger. And so at once he arrived there to save his disciple. Because he knew that his disciple is an innocent. Only because of the love of food, he had become fat, and now he has to pay these consequences. And so he reached there close to his disciple. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Whisper means to talk softly. When he reached there, immediately he reached there to help him out, and he scolded him. And then he told something in his ear, whispering softly. Then he went to the king and addressed him, O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? You see, he is asking, O king, tell, who is greater? Guru is great or disciple? Of course, the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? This is the king is telling. Of course, guru is the greater, not the disciple. But why you are asking? Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. First you have to put me, because I am the guru of this man, this disciple. And so if I am greater, who I am first, then I should be put to death first. After that, my disciple. Then what happens, you see here. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Me first. You brought me here first. Put me to death first, not him. You see, now there started confusion here. You see, he began to clamor means making noise, telling not he, me first. So they are arguing, both of them. Guru and the disciple is telling he understood now purposely because he has told something in his ear. And so now he understood and he began to clamor, to cry, to make noise. Me first. You brought me first here. Put me to death first, not him. He's telling, not he, me first. And now the guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He was puzzled, he was surprised, you see, because the king, the guru and the disciple, they are fighting now. Me first. Confused. The king was confused, he was puzzled, and he asked the guru, why do you want to die? Who chose him? Because we needed a fat man for the stake. We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake. Telling, why do you want to die? You see, because we selected him because we needed a fat man for the stake. It is not because he is a guilty or something, but then we wanted someone fat man. You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first, replied the guru. Don't ask me such question, but then you put me to death first. Why? There's some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. The king is telling there should be some mystery. Some mystery means something very mysterious, something very fishy, something very suspense should be there. Please make me understand. You are a wise man. Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you? Asked the Guru. Telling, if I tell you the mystery, the suspense of it, will you put me to death first? The king gave him his solemn word. Solemn word here means yes. He agreed that if he tells, then he would make him die first. The Guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot. Earshot means the servant should not hear. Okay, earshot. Little distance from the court, and whispered to him. Whispered again, speaking softly. Do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us? We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country. And whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. Understood? This wise man, the king is telling. He took him aside, first of all, not the king, the Guru took the king aside. The servant should not hear, away from them, and telling, do you know why we want to die right now, the two of us, and why we are fighting? Because he's telling, we have been all over the world, but we never found a city like this or a king like you. You are the wisest. He started praising him. The stake, that stake, for the death which is made there, that is the stake of God of justice, and it is new. It has never had a criminal on it. Nobody has died on it. And so, you see, whoever dies first will be reborn as a king of this country. And whoever goes next will be the future minister. You see, king and the minister, that's why we are fighting. We are sick of our ascetic life. They are guru and they are sannyasis. Remember that. Telling we are ascetic is sannyasis. Okay, ascetic. Where it is here, you have here. We are tired, sick of our ascetic life. No? It's a sannyas. The people, those who have renounced this world. That's called ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. At least for some time we want to enjoy as a king and the minister. Now keep your word, my lord. Put us to death. Me first. Remember? You understood? What a trick he is playing. The king was now thrown into deep thought. Now he was confused. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. Even the king, even next birth, he wanted to be a king. He needed time, so he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go to on the stake ourselves and will be reborn as king and minister again. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. You understood what has happened? That much greediness of this king. He even the next birth he wanted to become a king, and so he was thinking very deeply, and because he did not want to lose this kingdom to anybody else, and so he ordered the execution to be postponed for the next day, because one day he needs time to think and to talk with his minister. And so he took his minister aside in the secret place, and he is telling it is not right for us to give our kingdom to anyone else even in the next life, and therefore let us go to stake ourselves. We should die first, me first and you, so we will be reborn as king and the minister again. And he was very much convinced because he was a guru. He's telling gurus will never tell lies. The holy men, he's telling here, you see, holy men, here it is there, you see here, the holy men do not tell lies. They tell the truth. And the minister also agreed. Immediately he agreed. So he told the executioners, those who will execute, you call executioners, we'll send the criminals tonight. You see, the criminals, this fat man, the disciple and the guru, they will be sent. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first. Whoever comes first. Then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders, don't make any mistake. Whomever you see first, you see what kind of orders he is giving, you see, to the executioners, that tonight they will be out. Whomever you see first, kill him first. Okay, that person should die first, and the second one, whomever you see the second man should die. And this is my words, my orders, don't make any mistake. And that night the king and his ministers went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. You see what has happened here? That night, the king and his minister, the trusted minister, they went secretly to the prison where they had kept the guru and the disciple. They released them and they disguised themselves as the guru and the disciple. They disguised meaning they dressed up as guru and the disciple, and it was arranged beforehand with the loyal servant, very faithful servants, those who are very faithful. With them it was decided, it was arranged, and they were taken to the stake promptly, very quickly, and they were executed. They died both, first the king, second the minister. You see here the prison, the guru and the disciple, they are just walking away peacefully, and here inside you have the king and the minister. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. Panicked means they were disturbed, they were worried, panicky. You see, when here and there, when the head was cut off, remember that the bodies were thrown for the crows and vultures. What is vultures? The big birds now eating the dead bodies. People they saw and they were panicky, they were frightened. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. They realized it is the king and the minister, and the city was in confusion. They were confused. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Mourning the dead means they were very, very sad for this king and the minister. Some people suddenly thought of the guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. They begged the guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the guru. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a doo-doo. It became like any other place. Did you follow? I'm sure you might have followed. Now the people were panicked, they were mourning, they were very sad, and they were discussing about the future of the kingdom. What will happen now to the kingdom without king, without minister? Now some people, they realized that there is a guru and the disciple, and they were preparing to live unnoticed, Nobody should see, nobody should notice. So they were just preparing to leave the kingdom. And there the people, they caught up with them, they stopped them and they said, we are in need of a king and a minister. And people, they agreed, all the people, they agreed. And they begged the guru, they requested him to become the king and the disciple to be as their minister. This disciple did not take much time to agree. Immediately he agreed. But then the guru took a lot of time to say yes, because this guru was really sincere man. He did not want to be a king. But then finally, with the people's request, he agreed, and he agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister. But then the condition that this king and the minister could change all the old laws. And what were the old laws? Night. No more night will be day and day will be night. Not like that. They told that night would be night and day would be day, and you will not get anything for a doo-doo, for a rupee. You will not get everything for a rupee. There will be different prices. It will become like any other place, like other kingdom. There will not be any changes. Not that this is something different prices, or a single do. No, it will be like any other kingdom. With this, we have completed our chapter 4. Now you have here some 6 questions. You see, the first question, what are the two strange things the Guru and his disciple find in the kingdom of fools? What do they find? Here you see, the Guru and the disciple found that in the kingdom of fools, people used to work during the nights and sleep during the days, and everything was cheap and cost the same, a do or a rupee. So understood the two things, day will be night, night will be day, and everything is available with 1 rupee. Second, why does the disciple decide to stay in the kingdom of fools? Is it a good idea? You see here, because the first question answer would be because everything was cheap in the kingdom of fools, and the disciple had peculiarity of diet. He was a good eater and he was tempted by the cheap food. So he decided to stay in that kingdom. It was not a good idea at all to stay there for a long time, as one could be in danger any time because of the unpredictable behavior of the fools. Like how the Guru said, no, you cannot believe, cannot trust on these people, cannot rely, anytime they can change. Third question, name all the people who are tried in the king's court and give the reasons for their trial. The answer would be, who are these people? The merchant, the bricklayer, the dancing girl, the goldsmith. They were tried in the kingdom's court. They all were tried because the thief died when the wall of merchant's house had collapsed, and the merchant was tried for building the weak wall, and the bricklayer was tried for doing his work carelessly. Dancing girl was tried for disturbing the concentration of the bricklayer, and the goldsmith was blamed for making the dancing girl walk up and down to his house a dozen times. Clear the reason why they were. Clear? The fourth, who is the real culprit according to the king, and why does he escape punishment? The merchant's dead father was held responsible for making the wall weak, but according to the king, the rich merchant was the real culprit because he had inherited both sins and the riches of his father, and he escaped the punishment because he was too thin to fit the stake. Fifth, what are the Guru's words of wisdom, and when does the disciple remember them? The Guru was full of wisdom and knew well that the unpredictable behavior of the fools could create danger anytime. The Guru's words were, they are all fools. This won't last very long, and you can't tell what they'll do to you next. The disciple remembered them when he was arrested by the men of the king to execute because he fitted the stake. It was because of the Guru's words of wisdom that the execution was postponed. And the sixth question, how does the Guru manage to save his disciples' life? You will find that answer on the page number 24. Okay. The Guru arrived on time to save his disciple and created a drama. He told the king that it was not an ordinary stake, and whoever went to the stake first would become the king in next life. The second to die would become his minister. The king wanted to avail himself of the opportunity. The Guru and his disciple was released. Thus, the Guru managed to save his disciple's life. On page number 25, you will find that. Sorry, not 24, 25. Okay. So, these six questions, you have to write in your notebook the answers and learn it. Thank you, students.